I'm going to kind of make sure that everybody kind of gets in first and stuff like that. I want to make sure everybody gets seated. I wanted to bring a guest tonight. I am the psych teacher here on campus, and I've been with the college for quite some time, and so pretty much every term, I usually have at least one student who comes up to me and says, hey, here's some things that have happened to me, and I'm always, as a teacher, as a mom, I'm always like, what are some resources that I can get for people? And so kind of through a weird connection, we were able to get connected, and I asked her if she would like to come and speak. And so our Gray Matters Collective group here, we have a chapter here at MCC, and what we have decided to do is to invite Elizabeth. She is a current student at Kirkwood University, and she is a psych major. She has experienced sexual assault, and she is going to come tonight and have a conversation with us about that experience, some of the myths and fears of speaking out, and some of the mental health things that have come up in her life due to going through this experience, and just how we can support survivors. I'm really, really pleased to have her, and I'd like to welcome Elizabeth Main.
Hi, everyone. You're just going to have to bear with me through most of this, but I just first off want to thank all of you for coming out tonight because, I mean, the roads are kind of gross and it's cold and you out, but, you know, you took time out of your day, and I'm sure your busy schedules to come out and hear my story and support survivors like me, so I think that's really important. But we're going to get started. I have to turn it on. That would help. There we go. So just a little background on me. I'm a 20-year-old second-year student at Kirkwood Community College, and I am studying psychology. I will graduate in the spring and transfer to the University of Iowa to major in social work and criminology with passions to become a victim's advocate. I am also the USA National Miss Iowa Teen, and I was crowned back in February, and it has been life-changing. Pageants really have been, which is kind of a funky thing to say because when I tell people I do pageants, they're like, oh, like toddlers and tiaras? I'm like, no, not really. But it really has helped me hone in my public speaking skills and just being comfortable in front of an audience. With all that being said, I know my crown is amazing, but I am going to take it off because it's kind of distracting throughout a presentation. That should be good. There we go. It'll stay right there. You can look at it sparkle. So these two people in the picture behind me are my parents. They're back there in the way back. I just want to thank them for being so supportive. Whoa, that was way earlier than I thought that was going to start. For being so supportive of me throughout this entire journey. And I'm going to stop there before I start crying more. So, that's me at 14 years old. I know, crazy. That is when I met my rapist online over Snapchat. I was 14, he was 17. And yeah. That was me at 16, and I had just got my license and went and took the 45-minute drive to go meet him because I liked him. I thought he liked me, and I was an impressionable, vulnerable 16-year-old who was very new to dating and boys. So I went to go meet him, and he was very polite. He was very nice, which predators normally are, because they're not going to show you their true colors right off the bat, because then they wouldn't get to you. This was me about 7 months after my assault, and I was so happy. I was in one of the best places in my life. I had just won my first pageant title. I was doing great in school. I was doing great in sports. I was very happy because I hadn't realized what I had been through. I didn't know that I had been assaulted. I didn't know that I was a victim of abuse and exploitation. Because of the misconceptions and the stigma around sexual assault. So I had a crush on him. I really liked him. In that previous picture of me at 16, he took that picture. He took me on dates. He bought me food. He was very nice and polite, and I had a crush on him. But how can you be raped by someone you like? You know, that's a misconception I had. How can I be assaulted if I liked him? That doesn't make sense. This is one I get a lot, surprisingly. You don't look like a rape victim. You don't act like a rape victim. You don't dress like a rape victim. And I just what does a rape victim look like? Because as far as I was concerned, that was not an outward injury. That's an internal injury. That's a mental health illness. That's an injury to your mental health. Because I put makeup on and I do my hair and I wear cute dresses, that doesn't make me less of a survivor and less of a victim. This is a big one. We had had consensual sex before he raped me. And that was a huge reason why I didn't realize I had been assaulted, because I gave him consent once. So that just automatically means I gave him consent every time, right? When I was assaulted, I was asleep. So I didn't have the chance to say no or say yes. And that weighed on me for a really long time because, if I was awake, I probably would have consented, right? But I wasn't. And that's the big thing. I wasn't awake. I couldn't consent, and I didn't consent. Another large part of my story is that one of the times we had had consensual sex, he secretly recorded it. And though it was consensual, I was 16. I was a minor. And that's production of child pornography. So not only did he produce child pornography on multiple occasions, he was in possession of that child pornography, and he distributed that child pornography to other people. I would have protected him. At age 16, if the police would have come to me and questioned me about him, I absolutely would have protected him. I would have said he did nothing wrong and everything was consensual. And I think that's very common among survivors, especially young survivors, because it is embarrassing. There is a sense of shame because if I out him, I'm outing myself. And maybe people will see me as dirty or used or more of a victim than a survivor. And that's hard for a 16-year-old. Rumors spread fast, very fast. And talk like that spreads fast. And you don't know who's going to be your friend in that situation. I never said no. I never did. I was asleep, so I couldn't. I didn't know he was recording, so I couldn't. But in my 16-year-old mind, I wasn't raped. I never said no. Any unwanted sexual contact is assault, whether or not you said no. It doesn't matter, because you have to say yes. It's not that you said no, it's that you said yes. And I think that's where most of my trauma and mental illness stems from, is I was asleep. I never said no. I will never truly know what happened to me. I will never know what happened when I was assaulted. And my brain likes to try to fill in the gaps. It likes to explain what happened to me and why I'm feeling this trauma. And that comes out in a diagnosis of PTSD. So probably at the beginning of this year, I went to my doctor and I was like, hey, I'm having like horrible dreams and I wake up and I can't breathe. She's like, have you thought about PTSD? And I was like, well, I am not a veteran, so I don't have PTSD. I was never in the war. I never served. I don't jump at loud noises or have visual flashbacks where I get violent. Like, I don't have any of those stereotypical symptoms you see in media of PTSD. And that is why I didn't go get diagnosed for a very long time. One of the questions I ask myself all the time is if people believe me, because sometimes I don't believe myself. Like, I sit there and I'm like, how did you not wake up? How is that possible that you didn't wake up? Like, are you just making this all up? No, I'm not. But how can I ask other people to believe me if I have doubts in myself? My PTSD doesn't look like it's supposed to. Based on movies and TV shows, I don't have what's called a somatic flashback, which is the visual, the auditory, the tendency to get violent during a PTSD flashback. I have what's called an emotional flashback, which means I get a racing heart, racing thoughts, can't catch my breath, sweaty palms, I get really nervous, which is oftentimes the reaction that sexual assault survivors get. They get emotional flashbacks. And they're oftentimes confused with panic attacks or anxiety attacks, which leads to them not getting diagnosed with PTSD and not getting the help they need because they don't know. Really try to find me is a question I have always in the back of my mind. There was a small part of me that was scared he was going to be here, which, why would he come? That would be a horrible idea. But it's there. For about a month after I got in contact with the police about my assault, he contacted me on social media, on about 3 different social medias, in fact. And I was terrified. He knew what car I drove. He knew where my house was in my hometown. He knew what college I went to. If he did enough digging, he could find where I work. He could find so many things about me. And I didn't know how far he was willing to go to find me. And I got to have a very fun, long, drawn-out conversation with so many people. I had to have a conversation with the president of my university, with the dean of students, with public security, with lots of investigators, with my boss at work, my coaches on dance team, my friends, my teammates, my parents, my brothers, and lots of other family that was very uncomfortable to talk to about. You don't talk to your dad and brothers about your sex life. That's a little weird. Especially when that sex life is you being assaulted. And it was hard. I didn't go anywhere alone for about a month. because I was terrified. Oh, no. Thank you. Is he going to get away? I didn't talk to the police till I was 19 years old. And they actually contacted me because they found the videos and photos of me on his phone through a different investigation. So, in those 3 years, that's a lot of opportunity for someone else to get hurt. And maybe if I had known the depths of what I had been through sooner, I could have prevented that from happening. And that's part of what I'm trying to do here, is show what different assaults can look like and what different misconceptions can play a role in those assaults, and maybe we can prevent more people from becoming survivors. Would my life be easier if I stopped pursuing charges? I would love to stand up here and tell you guys that I am strong and all in and ready to go at him with everything I've got. But I can't say that, because there's so many times in this journey where I was like, this is too much. There's so much going on. I have so many other things I need to be focusing my energy on. Why am I putting myself through this? But I know I can, and I have. I am strong, and I am getting through this. And I am so proud of myself for standing up here and talking right now. So no, I will not let him get away any more than he already has. What got me through? This is my dog. His name is Coda. And I think healthy distractions are really important. I am a full-time student at Kirkwood, but I also hold 3 part-time jobs, and I have a side gig being a seamstress and choreographing dances. I have a lot of healthy distractions in my life that I can funnel my energy into, and they're my outlet. And I think that's really important, because if I sit in my room and stew and think and dig myself deeper every day, it's going to be so much harder to get out of that hole. Also, professional help. I do have prescription medications that help me with my PTSD, my depression, and anxiety, and that's not to say you have to be medicated at all. But if that's what you think you need, you should reach out to professional help to help you get those resources. I have an advocate through Rape Victim Advocacy Program through the University of Iowa that has helped me wade through the legal mumbo-jumbo that my detective throws at me. And I'm like, can you speak English? Because I have no idea what you're saying right now. And that's helped. I went to the Child Protection Center here in Muscatine for an interview, and they were amazing. And all my detectives have been unbelievably helpful getting me through all of this. My family and friends have been so unbelievably supportive through all of this. And it's not that I didn't think they would be, I just didn't understand how much they would be. They're always checking in on me and asking me how I'm doing. And it's been really helpful. Where am I now, besides standing here? I give up my title in less than 2 months in Des Moines, and I go to crown a new girl that will get a platform like this and hopefully spread some positivity as well. And I'm really sad because I don't want to give up my title, but I know another girl will have so much fun and do so many good things in the world like I have. I'm a dance teacher. That's my musical theater class. They're hilarious. But I get to spend 45 minutes with them a week. We were dancing to a song from High School Musical in this picture, and it's really nice to be able to focus my energy into my outlet, which is dance. And I go to the studio, and nothing else matters. I don't have to think about my court case. I don't have to think about my homework. I don't have to think about my job. I can just go dance. And I can be the supportive teacher and environment that I had growing up. And I can be that for my students. And that's a really nice feeling. That is me at an RBAP rally. I spoke and I shared my story because RVAP through the University of Iowa has been defunded, which means in October I lost my advocate. And knowing that other survivors will not have the advocacy like I did is really hard, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Deanna. She made this whole journey so much more easy, and I still text her about random things, and I probably annoy her sometimes, but it's fine because she's there for me, and she listens to me, and she talks to me, and it's so helpful, and I'm really disappointed that the University of Iowa defunded that project. That was a laser pointer. Next. That is me speaking to my campers at summer camp. I was a summer camp coach this summer, obviously. And I got to speak to them about compassion and kindness and how small gestures throughout your day can make someone's life so much more easy, and they can wade through the struggle that is life. Because I'm sure we have all had those days where you wake up in the morning and you're like, I should probably just go back to bed. Like, not gonna get out of bed right now. It's just not happening. It's not the time. And how much it would have helped if someone opened a door for you, or said please, said thank you, gave you a kind smile. And you never really know what someone else is going through. Since I posted that I was going to be sharing my story, I've had so many people reach out and share their story with me. And it really opened my eyes to how many people I knew, but I didn't really know what things they were battling, what silent battles they had. And it just was shocking just how many people have experienced sexual assault. And about 80% of them are from someone you know, someone you trust, someone you're vulnerable around. And that's scary. Oops. So now I'm going to open it up to questions. There are also, I've been told there's snacks out there.
That's not true. They're not out there yet.
Oh. You should make them be out there. After the questions. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to open up the questions. My favorite color is red, so you don't have to ask that question anymore.
Anybody have any questions? Questions for her? I know this is a kind of sensitive topic, but this is a really good time to ask some of these questions, ask some of those hard questions, like how did you get through it? She really did explain that. We have resources outside. I think this is really, really important Right now, actively on campus, we're working on a room for students. It's going to be right down this hallway. I actually have an office right outside of here, but we also are doing a decompression room for students. What I'm seeing in the classroom, what most of us on staff here are seeing in our classrooms and around, people are really hurting. And we as a community really want to help those who are hurting. And so we want to have things like this in the community where you can come and you know that there's people who are going to advocate for you. I have been a teacher for a really long time. I have my own story. I always tell my students, if you've had a class, I see a lot of you who've had one of my classes. I always say in my classroom, everybody has a story. And we usually, most of us, put to work our story. And so I really, really do appreciate you coming and sharing your story. I do know that sharing something this personal with a crowd of people that you really don't know is very, very difficult, and I am extremely proud of you for that. Anybody want to ask some questions? Yeah.
So have you thought about, not that you're not busy enough with dance and 3 jobs and everything, but have you thought about volunteering at one of the rape, sexual assault, or domestic violence programs, either in Iowa City, Muscatine, or Davenport, to help other survivors?
I've definitely thought about it. I do currently live in Cedar Rapids,
Okay.
but I will be living in Iowa City next year, so it's definitely something on my radar.
Because you have a different story to tell than others, and I think that it could be extremely helpful and powerful to other survivors, and to show them, where you were and where you've come to help empower them as well. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Do you plan to continue to speak? I mean, you're a strong, young, determined person, obviously. But and I know it's very difficult for you to get up there and do what you just did. But do you continue to, or plan to continue to speak at groups like this? Because I think you've got a great story to tell, and it would be very beneficial for a lot of people.
Absolutely. If given the opportunity, I would love to continue speaking and sharing my story. This is the first time I've ever shared my story, so you guys were kind of guinea pigs. To sharing it publicly and speaking about it. But yeah, I definitely think it would be nice to continue to share my story and support survivors.
I think it would be certainly a great benefit for a lot of young people to hear your story and to understand how you dealt with it, how you continue to deal with it. So,
Absolutely.
great story.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Are you going to continue with the pageantry?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a saying in the pageant world, I got bit by the pageant bug. I started pageants really late in the game. I started at 17 years old. And I was just kind of like, this is weird. But it's really such a supportive community, and I competed in the Miss America organization for 2 years, and the girls there are so intelligent and friendly, and they all have their own personal platforms that they share as well. And then I took a step out of my comfort zone and competed for the USA National Miss System because I loved their motto of compassion and kindness, and it was an amazing experience. But I do think I'm going to go back to the Miss America organization because I love how prominent interview is, and I do love talking. So it's a nice thing, and yeah, I will continue with pageantry.
Good for you.
Thank you.
So, hey, I have more of a statement. I have a clip here working for Lori and what she says about our students and people in college program. One, I cannot believe this is your first day tonight. You were very, very articulate. You held yourself together very well.
Thank you.
I would have been a teary mess if not whatever 3 minutes you said. So, just unbelievably well spoken for your age as well. So,
Thank you.
I think you've heard from a lot of folks in here is that
Thank you.
The second thing is just, I hope your legal troubles for your peace of mind are over. And I'm not asking about it, I just hope those things are behind you. And you get to start with your next chapter, or perhaps put it on the next chapter.
They're getting there.
Anyone else?
Is there any issues with law enforcement that you guys have need to work on to better your process?
I work with the Tipton Police Department, and they have been so supportive. And I text my investigator often, and truthfully, the only issue is how slow the process is, which I know is not something we can control very well, but it's a slow process and it's tedious. And I think the important part of that, because that is probably not going to change, is making sure we have resources and support for the people who are going through that process to make sure they feel supported the entire time and they stick with it. Because I see a lot of charges getting dropped because it's hard to go through a long, lengthy court process.
So I do want to take just a second. There are a couple people here who are supporting us, so I'm just going to kind of go around, and if you want to just say something short about like your organization and what you do for advocacy. I'm going to start here. This is actually our counselor here on campus.
Lydia Villarreal. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of clients and there's a lot of questions, so I'm glad you're here. I believe the minority community can definitely benefit, so I'd like to see something there. It's very needed, especially at the university. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Judy Yates with the MCSA Domestic Violence Shelter. So we serve people that are going through domestic violence and rape, sexual assault at our shelter. So, you know, I'm just so proud of you. What you've just done is not easy, and I hope that after doing it today, and if you continue to do it, that you feel more empowered and take that control back that he took from you. And that is one of the main things that we at our shelter really try to work with our clients on is their self-esteem and to help empower them when those things have been taken away from them. So again, you did an amazing job.
I'm going to go back here to the back here.
I'm Nikki Sink with the Muscatine Police Department. I work with 3 other detectives. Our job is to investigate these kind of cases and obviously be as supportive as we can for survivors and victims. And if there's anything that we can do to make the process easier, we'd love to hear feedback if you've been a victim before. And that's about all I have. We do have information out on the table as to like questions about how to report it, kind of the do's and don'ts. A lot of people are afraid to report right away. So we have a bunch of informational packets out on the table if you guys want to stop by and grab one of those.
Thank you so much. I'm going to come over here. Getting my steps in today.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I work at Trinity Muscatine Public Health. I am the sexual education coordinator there. I go into the schools and provide information on consent and like teen relationships, healthy relationships, that sort of thing. So at Public Health, we try and do the before anything happens so that kids know and are aware of what consent is and how they can use it, essentially, so.
I just want to thank everybody who came out. Is there anybody that I'm missing? Is there anyone that I'm missing here? Okay. I just want to thank everybody for coming out and coming to see her. I am incredibly impressed as well, and I'm just so grateful that you came out to talk to our students and that the community got involved as well. I really appreciate your support and coming to the college. My students mean a lot to me, And I know that our community means a lot to us. So it's really nice to have that support tonight. All right, well, we're going to have something outside. Thank you very much for coming.